Hey, welcome back to the channel. Got a little something on the bench for you here. So we have our RadiomasterTX16S, and we got a bad problem. It's not wanting to work. Emergency mode keeps popping up. When you turn it off, the LED stays lit. Doesn't matter which one you have chosen. It kind of defaults to one, and that's really the only indication that something isn't right. And then, of course, it pops back up emergency mode. No matter how many times I do this, it doesn't matter. It just continually pops back up. So we pull the LiPo out. And we can just leave this set here for a little bit. And the LiPo, we'll go ahead and get a checker for that. So we got 2S, I should say that's Lion, I keep saying LiPo. So 2S, and we have 7, 8 total, and then 394, 394. So we definitely have enough juice to run this radio. So that's not an issue. And it's putting out both cells are putting out correct voltage. So we'll go ahead and put this back in now that it's sat for a minute. The Lion battery's back in and everything seems to be off. We'll go ahead and power it up and nothing. So we're going to have to crack this thing open and see what's going on inside. I kind of got an idea from a video I've done already, and I'll share that with you here in a second. So, all right, so the first thing we're going to have to do is set this face down on the bench. I would suggest getting some foam or something to cover your gimbals if you don't have gimbal protectors, because we're gonna work on this thing face down. So let me go ahead and grab some foam. I'll go ahead and take the Lion back out, and I'll be right back. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to remove the 4 case screws. And then we have to remove the 2 upper screws. All right, so the 2 upper screws are a 2.5 hex screw, and then the 4 body screws are just a small, like a number 1 Phillips. And we'll pop off the plastic sides here. And the case should lift right off, no issue. On this radio, your battery plug is in here, so there's no wires attached to this part. All right, so we just have a good look inside here, and the reason why I'm going to go after this ribbon cable first is because of this video here. So this is the Jumper T16, and it had ribbon cables all throughout the inside. A friend of mine was having some really bizarre issues, kind of similar to what's going on here. So I'm interested in, the ribbon cable to start with. So we're going to go ahead and take the ribbon cable out, and we'll clean it real good with alcohol. We'll give it like a little bit of abrasion, and we'll put it back in and see if the radio holds up. So we're going to have to take our RF module off, and it is a Phillips screw. So just kind of wiggling this around. It looks like there's a zip tie here. They're using that as a strain relief so you don't yank your antenna out and rip it off the board. So we need to cut that zip tie off, but we need to remember to put that back when we're done. So I'm going to put it right here in our screw pile so it'll remind me. And then we have a Molex connection here. Looks like a JST125. Nope. That's a PH connector. We'll slide this receiver up out of our way gingerly. And then it looks like we have a ribbon cable retaining. Maybe like the bracket for the RF. So we'll go ahead and remove that bracket, get it out of our way. All right, now that our bracket is out of the way, we can see our ribbon cable in here, and we're just going to get something that's not sharp as in metal, but I do like to use, I like using chopsticks. So we'll just stick him in here, and we'll just kind of pull him on one side I'm going to pull up on this. So this little, let me zoom in here for you so you can see that. All right, does that look good to you here? You can see, so this little flap right here, it's a 90 degrees straight up, and then flat down locks the ribbon cable in. So we're just kind of working, using our fingernail on the edge of this to kind of pop that up without snapping it off. So you can see here it's kind of a little hinge. And then I'm going to mark on the ribbon cable, I'm just going to put a little arrow. So that's going to go towards our antenna. So I take this out. So go ahead and pull this side out just because it looks like to be the easiest. Now I will have to say that this ribbon cable looks almost identical to the type and style of ribbon cable they used in that jumper T16 that my buddy has. So I'm kind of thinking this might be the issue. The main board trying to communicate with the peripherals of the, so you have buttons and your power button, all the communication between the two, something ain't right. So let's go ahead and pull him out, and we're going to clean all these, and we're just going to use a light abrasion to kind of buff and polish them. So let's pull this out of the way, and we have our ribbon cable here. I'll turn him over. You can kind of see all of these different, I mean, that's a lot of information flowing through this ribbon cable. So I'm going to be kind of gentle with it. I don't want to crease it or crack it. So we'll just kind of flatten them out a little bit. And then I'll go ahead and get some alcohol. I have 91% alcohol in my little trusty squeeze bottle. All right, so we just have a little, it's kind of a felt pad that you get in a Dremel set. They have a little bit of an abrasion to them, not a ton. We don't want to get too nasty with these ends here. So we're just going to buff and polish those up with some alcohol. And I'll bring our microfine cloth back into action here. We'll just kind of get any little fragments of the polishing wheel off of the ribbon cable. All right, we'll let that dry for a second. All right, we have our remnants of our arrow still to point up. Go ahead and get the front edge started here. Just kind of have to work that into, kind of wiggle it back and forth. I know, I'll get my hand out of your way, but I'm just kind of wiggling it back and forth, and you can feel there's a little play. So you've bottomed in, you've bottomed out. So we'll go ahead and pop that lock back down, and we'll stick the ribbon cable down into the gap where they had it. Pull our lock up here, and we'll have to work this end in. Just going to turn this here so I get my fingers in there. My fingers are so big I can't hardly film this for you. See if I can get, all right, you see it pop in right there? And now we're just going to wiggle it back and forth and make sure that it's, yep, you can feel it. There's just this tiny little bit of play where you can feel the ribbon cable kind of going back and forth in the case. And that lets you know that it's seated in properly. We'll go ahead and lock that down. Turn this back around for you. All right, so we'll go ahead and zoom out for you, and we'll go ahead and get our, we'll have to get our retaining bracket back in. You can kind of feel the screw drop down into the threads. Let's turn it counterclockwise. And then you can, that way you don't strip out your threads, and just kind of give it a little snug. Nothing crazy, you're just going into small threads. Take our receiver module. Everything looks good. We'll go ahead and get our, looks like this is even smaller than a regular zip tie. I actually have a bunch of these. I can only find them on Banggood. They're just a really small zip tie, but they're quite strong. So go ahead and get the zip tie put in. Alright, so we got our zip tie all buttoned up. So now our RF antenna, if it gets snagged on something, it won't rip off of the board here. Now I'm just going to go through and kind of just check to make sure that we see all of our other connections. I'm just going to kind of give them a little bit of movement to see if anything's broken or isn't put in correctly. We'll get him put back. Looks like they had a half a twist on that. We'll just gingerly go side to side on that, so we'll kind of push a little bit on both sides and work that plug on. And everything looks here. We don't see any torn plugs. We'll kind of move him a little bit. So just kind of go through and make sure everything is plugged in correctly. We don't have anything frayed or pinched. Everything looks pretty good here. We'll go ahead and power this up and see if it's doing its naughty thing.
Hey Propsoff, when are you gonna fly now? Throttle warning.
Alright, let's go ahead and power it down. And power it back up.
Hey Propsoff, when are you gonna fly now? Throttle warning.
Go ahead and power it back off. And power it back on.
Hey Propsoff, when are you gonna fly now? Throttle warning.
Alright. We'll see if that was the trick. We'll go ahead and button this back up. And if I don't have any more issues with the emergency mode turning on after doing this, we'll go ahead and post this video. If it does it again, then obviously I won't post the video. So we'll give it maybe a month, see how that goes. So go ahead and get this button back up real quick. Alright, so we'll see if we can get this to come on here.
When are you gonna fly now?
Everything seems to be working out pretty good now.
Hey Propsoff, when are you gonna fly now?
So what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and test this for a couple weeks, maybe a month. I've had pretty much an issue with it every time I've flown, so I'm sure it'll arise again pretty quick if that wasn't the fix. But for now, I'm going to call it a good deal, done deal, and I'll post this video in a month if it really fixed it, and if not, we'll be back to the drawing board and I'll throw this whole entire video in the trash. So, see you in about a month.
Propsoff, when are you gonna fly now?
And if this video helped you out, give me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you hated it, you give it a thumbs down. It all works. Enjoy the breeze.